You are listening to Fox Radio 910 and 104.3. I want to welcome you to Let's Talk About, our weekly radio program sponsored by Crowning Touch Senior Moving Services of Roanoke, Virginia. My name is Linda Balentine, the president of Crowning Touch and your host for this series. I interview local characters, service providers, politicians, teachers, entrepreneurs, and business professionals, and each one is dedicated to improving life in our valley. Every person has an interesting perspective to share from all walks of life. So, let's begin today's interview. You're listening to Let's Talk About, and today we're touching on a topic that affects every one of us at some point. End-of-life planning and honoring our loved ones with dignity and respect. I'm joined by Tony Peterson, the market manager of Blue Ridge Funeral Home and Memorial Gardens in Roanoke, Virginia. With decades of experience serving families during tender times of loss, Tony brings a wealth of knowledge about funeral services, cremation, pre-planning, and the unique ways we can celebrate a life well lived. Thank you, Tony. And he's also got the manager of family services with us today, Joel Brenner. Thank you both. Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Tony.
Well, thank you for having us, Linda.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.
And I'm going to kick off by talking to you, Tony, and asking you first off, give us a little history of Blue Ridge Funeral Home and Memorial Gardens, because from what I understand, it was started by your grandfather in 1954. Is that right?
That is correct. My grandfather, James E. Springer, Jim Springer, started the cemetery in 1954. And with his vision, he started the 52 acres that we have out here, developing it into the beauty that you see today. Currently, the cemetery is 52 acres with about 35 acres of land developed. So you can see we have plenty of space for future expansion.
And you've been doing this since you were 10 years old. I mean, they put you to work early. It was probably a good thing. Kept you off the street, right?
That's right. So my mother, I come from a large family. So my mother, I think to help with babysitting and stuff, but she brought me out to work where she was running the business at the time with my grandfather. And she would make me work out on the ground. Not make me, but she put me to work out on the grounds and weeding flower beds, watering flowers, mowing, whatever I could do.
So you are a real grassroots worker.
Absolutely.
Here. You really understand what in the world is going on.
Yeah, I've been here a long time.
So it's been serving the community all of this time. What are some of the major changes it's gone through? It's now owned, from what I understand, by another corporation. Is that right?
That's correct. My grandfather, he sold the business back in 1994 to a company called Stewart Enterprises, which was the third largest death care provider in the nation. And in 2013, SCI acquired us, and that is Service Corporation International. But it's a great company to work for, nationwide company. And we have a lot of benefits for both families that we serve and our employees.
And Joel, I think I've got a question for you. I think this is right in your wheelhouse. Can you tell me what range of services you currently offer to families? It's pretty extensive.
At the funeral home, we offer funeral planning services to families, helping to make arrangements and celebrating every unique life the way that it deserves to be celebrated. And on the cemetery side, memorializing those lives forever in a place and a way that people can come and visit and remember the lives of the loved ones.
Now, you're going to be you talk to people in what you call the pre-planning stage. Are most of the people in the pre-planning stage, or do most of your clients walk through the door because somebody just died?
So it's a mix. We handle both what we call at-need circumstances, where somebody has just passed away, and we also handle pre-planning, which is people who are trying to plan and make that eventual difficult event a little bit easier on their family. I get to do both. Okay,
so they would call here and make an appointment with you if they want to come on in and sit. They can talk to Tony. They can talk to you. You have other team members here that they can speak to.
Yes, I have a whole team of counselors at the cemetery and at the funeral home that will sit with families, counsel them, walk them through all of the tremendous options that are available to them, help them make the selections that are right for them personally, for their belief systems, and for their budget, and put everything together. You have a wonderful website. The dignity.com website is very, very extensive, and only because you have broken it out into services for children, services for vets, services for a husband, for a wife, it's all really covered there, and people can get a lot of ideas and get familiar and start thinking. What do you think is one of the biggest hangups that people have when they start even thinking about what do they need the most help with, Joel? A lot of people just have a hard time having the difficult conversation about death in the first place. Some people feel superstitious about discussing it. Some people are just very uncomfortable. But we like to say there are two conversations. There's the difficult conversation and the more difficult conversation. The more difficult conversation is the one you have to have with a funeral director and a cemetery planner when you've lost somebody unexpectedly and you don't know what they would have wanted.
Yeah.
The easier conversation is the one to have while they're still alive, even if it's uncomfortable. Then you know what they would have wanted.
Okay. I was reading in the Bible this morning, I read in Ecclesiastes 7:2, it said, "For death is the destiny of every man. The living should take this to heart." And death seems to be part of the journey, but we're never quite ready for, it seems to me. You want to put it off. You think you're just going to, they keep extending the age. You think you've still got a lot of tread left. And so you put it off and wait. And I can speak about myself. I know what ideally I would like to have done. And other than my husband knowing, I don't think anybody knows. So if something were to happen to him, I guess I would really have to get in gear. But, what if something happened to both at the same time? And then that puts a real burden on. So the older you get, the more you realize what an emotional burden it is to people that are in a grieving time of their life, right? That's not the time to be making decisions.
It's an emotional burden and it's a financial burden at the same time. And I think a lot of people miss that both of those are equally difficult for people going through that. We plan for things in life in case they might happen. We buy car insurance in case we might have a car accident. We buy health insurance in case we might get sick. We buy home insurance in case there's a flood or a fire. This is the one thing that everybody is going to have to face. So it makes sense to plan for it.
Yeah, it does. I was going to ask you if you could break it out. What are some of the moving parts? Maybe Tony, can you talk to us, Tony, about some of the moving parts? What are they on the line for? You're on the line for a gravesite, right? And a casket, and then there's the service. Speak to that for me. What makes up that expense?
Yeah, we're a full service cemetery and funeral home. So, everything from on the cemetery side, if you get a space or a mausoleum crypt or a niche if you choose cremation. We have many, many options to choose from there. If you go with a ground burial, then we have outer burial containers that we would use for the casket the vault houses the casket. Also memorials, you want to be forever memorialized, so we have markers that you can choose from, and there's an opening closing expense as well. On the funeral home side, there's many options to choose from, different types of caskets, different types of services. We like to call it a celebration of life for each of our family members, who have lost a loved one, but we tailor it to their personal wants and needs. And we just talk to the families, find out what their hobbies were or, what they were interested in, and we can help tailor their funeral service to what they would want.
What about somebody, I actually had a friend with enough property, he buried his wife on his own land. What does the law say in the state of Virginia? What type of restriction regulations do they have regarding that?
Well, there's no real law per se in Virginia. You could, I guess the short answer is yes, you could do that. Each locality has different laws, though. So it would depend on your local ordinances, in the community where you live, and whether you can do that or not. And I would suggest talking to maybe a lawyer or someone in city council even, but to find out a little more about that. Yeah, well, I imagine it might be tied to a certain amount of acreage, too. I have no idea. I'm sure if you live on maybe a half an acre, there's some sort of, regulation. But and I understand all of that. What kind of special services do you offer for veterans, let's say, and their families or first responders, Joel?
We take a lot of honor in serving our veterans. We have a veterans planning guide that we'll sit down and go over with veterans. It's very specific. It goes through all of the things that they're entitled to, the differences in those benefits, whether they choose to be buried in a private cemetery or at a veteran cemetery, everything right down to the marker and the burial as well as the funeral planning. It's a lot of details. Veterans need to be honored and served, and we also offer discounts to all of our veterans. I read, too, today that
there's a program that SCI offers to either homeless vets or first responders. Aren't they? I mean, it was something like a free burial to a homeless vet.
Absolutely. We do offer that for every location in the nation that we have. And we're very proud of that, and because we need to take care of our first responders and our veterans as well. And
there are 18 rooftops, you called it, that you shepherd, correct?
Yes, ma'am. So I'm market manager over Central Virginia. So from down in Pulaski area all the way up to Culpeper. I have locations. So I have funeral homes and cemeteries that I oversee. And I have managers such as Joel here with me, and they actually run the cemeteries and the funeral homes for me. But and the people I have are all of them have great extensive experience and are very compassionate in what they do.
I went to interview a casket maker once, and he told me, I asked him what one of his most unusual experiences was, and they went and buried somebody in a pink Cadillac, and the woman wanted a phone in there because she was terrorized to think that she might be buried prematurely before she was actually dead, and she wanted to be able to ring somebody up and let them know. Do you have any interesting stories about requests that people have made that might not be as wild and crazy as that? But I understand you're willing to accommodate everybody. So, without giving away too many people's secrets, is there something interesting you want to share in that regard?
There are a lot of different ways that you can be buried and a lot of different wants and needs from our families. But I don't have anything really out of the ordinary to speak of. But, we definitely have serviced some very high-end, well-known people. And I know our company actually is on. We have a special crew that goes out and buries like the presidents and those type of burials as well. We handle most all of the high-end funerals.
Do you see a tendency to ecological attention to a burial? In other words, avoiding a casket and wrapping somebody in something else that then, degrades or goes back to nature more easily than a casket? Do you get requests for that type of thing? Because it's sort of a trendy thing that's coming to the fore right now, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be. And there are some religions out there that require certain ways of burial. We try to accommodate most all within our rules and regulations at our parks. And there are some locations, maybe we don't own any here locally, but that have what you call a green burial. And there's different ways to go about doing that as well.
Yeah.
Or eco-friendly.
Yeah, that's it. That was a green burial. That was a word I couldn't think of. Thank you. How long can you hold a body to wait for a service? I spent a lot of time out in the mountains of Appalachia, with a farm, and there were literally people out there who, when somebody died, and I'm talking 50 years ago, they would put them on the porch until the ground thawed. That's why they call it the service berry, that little pink berry that starts to bloom in the mountain that they call the service berry. When you saw that bloom, it meant that the ground was thawed out enough that you could go ahead and have a service and go ahead and bury somebody. But that was the West Virginia way of keeping somebody. You didn't have to worry about them thawing out because, it used to be even a lot colder than it is now. But how long can you have a burial for people that either have to gather family together, or how long can you wait between the time somebody dies? And is there a limit?
Well, we don't like to hold them real long, but, we do if the body has been properly embalmed, and we do have refrigeration. And, of course, that prolongs everything, and that's similar to what you're talking about. It's cold in West Virginia for sure.
Yeah.
Up in the northern states, I know they have ground thawers that they use, so they are able to dig graves.
How does that work? What's a ground thawer?
So they have this dome type of, it's like a vault lid almost, and it creates heat. And,
gotcha.
And it run by propane, and they leave it on overnight so they can go back in the morning and dig the grave. It thaws out the ground.
Wow. What is a grave liner?
So a grave liner is an outer burial container for the casket.
Okay.
Yeah.
An outer burial container. So you slip it into, is that a steel container or something?
It can be steel, or concrete, or polypropylene. There are different materials that are used, but it houses the casket, protects the casket.
Okay. And they do that in case anybody would ever want to do an autopsy or something?
Well, it's more so, maybe you've seen the old family cemeteries, and they have sunken spots where they just use wooden caskets or coffins, I guess, back in the day. But and they deteriorate over time, and if you drive any kind of equipment over it to get to the next grave to be able to prepare it, it'll sink. So the vaults or outer burial containers would preserve the ground and make it safe to drive over.
How many times have you been asked to dig up a body for whether it's, legal reasons, or, is that something that you get a request for?
Yeah, we Every now and again we get a request for that, but it's not very, very often. I can probably in the last 5 years, maybe once, that we've had that happen. But,
Right. Okay. And then I would imagine, though, sometimes they might want to move a body, too. Is that possible?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That happens every now and again, too. I had someone moving to Georgia, and they were buried here at our park, and we did a disinterment and just took the whole vault up, and it was transported down to Georgia.
Yeah, and it makes it a lot easier if you've got that liner in there, too, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Can we talk about cremation? Because it seems to be coming more common for whatever the reason. Would you agree with that? Do you get more requests for cremation than burial? What percentage is one to the other?
Yeah, we're definitely over 50% now here in the Roanoke Valley, and a lot of my towns that I oversee, we're definitely over 50%. I would say, I'd venture to say we were between 55 and 60% cremation now. And we have a lot of different offerings for cremation. So with changing business times and ways that people are thinking, we have to adapt. And so we have a cremation garden that we actually built here in our cemetery. We have above ground niches. And you can
explain those to me. What's an above ground niche?
Okay, an above ground niche is like a niche cabinet. I know you've heard that before, or a columbarium, to where you can place your urn inside of a niche space, and you can memorialize it.
So how big is that space? In other words, are you talking about ashes in a standardized urn that fits your space?
Yeah,
and then
of course.
You put a memorial plaque on it? Is that how you do it?
That's one way to do it, absolutely. There are different size niches, so you can your husband and wife can be in together in the same niche, or you could be by yourself. We also have glass front niches. There's all different array of offerings for there. One thing I did want to mention, Linda, you can also we offer the Celestis space launch, so you can be put into space.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
Yeah, to different levels. We do have a Neptune Memorial Reef down off the coast of Miami. It's actually off coast of Key Biscayne near Miami.
So you can go scatter the ashes out there?
Yeah, they'll put they have divers that go down, scatter the ashes, and they'll put a cenotaph, place a cenotaph, copper cenotaph down there at the bottom.
I don't even know what a cenotaph is.
It's just a way to memorialize.
Okay, I gotcha. Do you think that's a cost-driven change because of the pricing of funerals, and it's just a more economical way to deal with things? What do you think is driving that change?
Yeah, it probably has to do with that, and as well, we're in a very people move a lot nowadays. So so there's a lot of people. It makes it easier to take mom and dad with you. Maybe there's a lot of different reasons that go into that.
What kind of misconceptions do people have? You don't do the cremation right here, do you?
No, we don't have a crematory on site. I do have 4 crematories in my market.
Where's the nearest one?
Lynchburg.
All righty. So if somebody wants to take advantage of your services here, the body gets taken to Lynchburg?
Yeah, we can do that, or we just use a local crematory here in town. So,
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes it real easy.
Okay, I gotcha. What are some of the misconceptions that people have about cremations?
One of the most common misconceptions, I feel, is that some people think that they cannot have a traditional funeral if you choose cremation. Just because you choose cremation doesn't mean you cannot plan a traditional funeral. Many families choose to have the remains cremated and then hold a funeral service afterwards with the urn present. Another popular choice is to hold a traditional burial or funeral before the cremation, and once the service is over and afterwards, they can have their loved one cremated and returned to them.
Okay, that's interesting, and it is something that probably most people don't think about. If you're trying to give guidance to families who are undecided, how do you handle that, Joel?
Well, I like to show them all of the options that we have. There's far more options with cremation I think people know about. There's even more options for cremation memorialization than there are for full body burials. So if somebody comes out to meet with us and they really don't know what they want, we start by giving them a tour. We'll take them around the whole cemetery and show them all of the options, including our mausoleum, our niches, and our cremation gardens, and show them all of the different choices that they have there.
How many, once you cremate and you're dealing with the ashes, I know some people might want to get something special from home to put the ashes in? I mean, do you ever hear of that? Everybody doesn't go out and buy an urn, right? I mean, there might be something special they already have, like you say, or combine it.
In some cases, the families have something they want to put it in. We also have, Tony mentioned it, in our mausoleum, we have niches that are called glass front niches, and they're really, really beautiful. So it's a place where the urn can go for its final resting place, but it has a glass front instead of a marble or a granite front, and the family can put decorative items and memorials from the family, jewelry, pictures, dolls, whatever they want to remember those people with in that glass front niche. And when they come to visit, they see all of those memories of their family.
And that could be changed out, too, if you wanted to, couldn't it? I mean, it sounds like it could be.
Yeah.
Now, that is a really sweet idea.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah. I would like to even see that. So I'm sure if somebody is interested, that would be part of the tour that you would give them here.
Absolutely. We'd show them all of their options, and then we'd help to narrow those down for them.
Okay. What about your memorial gardens makes them special? Is there something about Blue Ridge Memorial Gardens that you think is either different or... I've got a question. This is a real practical, pragmatic question. Who does the weed eating around all this stuff out there? It's so neat all the time. I know veterans memorials gardens are always really, really well maintained. But you really maintain yours very well, and people come and put these flowers, and they're all in the way. And how do you mow and do all that?
Well, great question. So we have our own in-house crew here. Some places we do. We have a third-party mowing crew that comes in, but here at most of my locations, we do it in-house, and we have specialized mowers where there's zero-turn mowers, and it's just hard work, and our guys get out and weed eat around the memorials. And but thanks for saying how beautiful it is. It is a lot of work that goes into it.
Yeah.
And for 5 guys that we have here working here, it's a lot to upkeep, and they do a good job. It's tougher when it's raining like it has been all the time, and the grass just seems to grow and grow. But it's a big job, but our guys do a great job at taking care of the park, and they really have a personal vested interest in it, and they want it to look good for everybody.
So there is no maintenance or long-term care costs associated once you've purchased a plot. You're done. Is that the way it is?
Absolutely. You're done. There's no future cost associated. And Joel brought this up earlier. Once you buy and you lock in that price for pre-planning, you may not die for 20 years, and that your price is locked in.
Okay, and you still honor that, which is a real good reason to pre-plan. Yes, Joel.
So we are what's called a perpetual care memorial park too, and the perpetual care means that a portion of every plot that we sell goes into a trust fund. It's 10% that goes into a trust fund. That fund exists for the long-term maintenance and care of the cemetery. So long after I'm gone and my kids are gone and my grandkids are gone, this cemetery will be maintained. It also means if a person's visiting and they see a problem and they report it, we take care of it almost right away. We'll often get out there the same day and fix those problems. And also, we use the word park with our cemetery very carefully. If you look out over, you'll notice that our park is all flush mount markers. So those are markers that are flat with the ground. So when you look out over the grounds, all you see is the beautiful grass that's well trimmed and maintained, and the flowers that are sticking up. It gives that park-like image.
Do you know, I'll tell you a neat little story, or it's neat for me. I actually brought my 4-year-old grandson up here to try and teach him what a cemetery was, because he was asking about it. So we drove through. You have a nice auto trail through here, and we drove through. And then I got him out and was actually teaching him his alphabet on some of those markers that were there, because I wanted him to have the chance to recognize letters and what they signified. So we would talk about the names and everything else. But when he really found out that he might be standing in the proximity of somebody that was really in the ground, he said, "Nina, I want to get out of here. I just want to get out of here." Great. It's just a funny little personal story. But, I've always been impressed by actually how much other additional space you have. So you've got 52 acres, you've got 35 that you've sort of utilized at this point. And you're really sure of yourself, Tony, when you say, you've got lots of room. How it took all of these years to fill up those acres that you've got filled, and now you're reaching out. Is there...
Let's say developed, because in every section we still have lots available.
Oh, okay.
And we have well over 20,000 lot owners with us, and
wow,
we do approximately 400 burials each year.
Yeah.
So there's a lot. And getting back to what you were talking about, I all of my kids learned how to drive out here on the cemetery.
So there's multiple use facility out here.
That's right. That's what makes part of it a park-like appearance, like Joel was saying.
I was going to ask about, we already talked about home burials. Let's talk about the type of support that families need after they've gone ahead and buried people, okay? Joel, that sounds like that would be in your wheelhouse again.
Well, so we offer a program to all of the families and all the people that come to any of our memorials, funerals, or our burials. We have a 24-hour care line that's staffed by people with no less than a master's degree, offering 24/7, 365-day support. Anybody that comes to a funeral or a burial gets that support at no cost to them, as much as they need it, for 90 days. An immediate family gets it for 13 months. Now, do you know why we chose 13 months?
No, tell me.
Because that annual date is a real hard date.
Oh,
so we
wow.
purposely pay for that to go out 13 months for all of the families that have people resting with us, so they get that support on that annual anniversary.
Wow, that's really important. That is a really great support. So then are there workshops as well? I mean, do other people band together, like widow persons groups or anything else that you have besides? In other words, I think what I'm asking is, you've got a group for children, maybe people that lose children. Is it special groups, or they're just willing to deal with these families individually and counsel them that way?
After a family has buried somebody that they love, they come and they meet with us and do what's called an aftercare appointment. And we go through that. We give them the care line information, a lot of literature that we walk them through, and it may be specific to if you've lost a child or a spouse or a brother or sister or a parent and so on. We take them through all that. We continue to follow up with those families. We also are very big about getting out in the community and doing seminars for free. We bring food to people and educate people on the value of pre-planning. We love going to churches, organizations, businesses, anybody we can talk to educate.
Okay, that is great. That is really great news. Well, I just want to extend a heartfelt thank you to both you, Tony, and to you, Joel, at the Blue Ridge Funeral Home and Memorial Gardens for joining us today. You've got a lot of experience and a lot of compassion to share with people. It's clear that helping families through one of life's most difficult times is more than just a business. I think it's a calling. And if you'd like to learn more about the services they offer, or have questions about pre-planning, cremation, or memorial options, visit them online at dignitymemorial.com. Call them at 540-366-6574, or stop by their Roanoke location out there by the airport, 5731 Airport Road. I'm Linda Balentine. Thanks for listening to Let's Talk About on Fox Radio 910 and 104.3. And until next time, take special care of yourself and each other. You've been listening to Let's Talk About, courtesy of Crowning Touch Senior Moving Services of Roanoke, Virginia, the only moving company with a consignment shop, auction house, and real estate division. We are a one-stop shop for any senior making a move. Check out our website at crowningtouchusa.com. Or if you are planning a move, call Anna at 540-982-5800 to arrange a free estimate. And don't forget to check out our monthly browse and bid auctions at 6712 Williamson Road in Roanoke, where you can bid online on over 1,800 items each month. Meanwhile, let's get back together next Friday at noon for more of Let's Talk About on Fox 910 and 104.3.